Hi, I'm Tamara Lackey, and on this episode of reDefine show for Adorama TV, part 2 of my conversation with Luke and David Edmonson, we discuss the clear influence of the original masters on their award-winning work and how they translate the light in painting to how they light their gorgeously precise pieces. Check it out.
Adorama TV presents the reDefine show with Tamara Lackey.
So walk me through a creative process for one of your prints. Maybe the one with your wife and daughter that I love.
Yeah, okay, so one of the painters that we admire is Vermeer. He worked with complementary color schemes. He worked with a certain quality of light that came from a certain type of window and so forth. And one of the things that I wanted to do was create an image that used the breadth of our skills to be able to immortalize something for my wife and daughter, with the audience really being my daughter someday. And to that point, it was going to be her mother bathing her in almost like just a simple scene. You know, Vermeer, one of the things that was unique to him is he kind of brought painting to the middle class for the first time. And so this particular image is using those warm color tones and palettes and just kind of has her there interacting with my daughter and just kind of, just simple pleasures of life.
And definitely there's so much joy leaping out of the expressiveness and the interaction.
Yeah. And then we later revisited that, and it'd be interesting to be able to show them a revised version of it that you ended up doing for my sister.
My daughter in Rome had a little girl, and so I just said I want to do the same thing. So we built a set and recreated it a second time.
So built a set. Can we stop on that for a second?
Sure.
So you know what look you're going for. You know the scene. Do you sketch it? I mean, where do you start with the building of the set?
I sketch it in my mind.
Okay.
About 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up and go, oh my goodness, I can't sleep anymore, but then I have a few creative thoughts.
Yes.
And then I think about what kind of props that I need to make this happen. And I go on eBay at 3 o'clock in the morning and I buy all the props, and then I literally start building the set. Because I was a theater, in high school I was the stage manager for 3 years.
Got it.
So I understand how to build a set for theater.
Okay, all right, that's helpful.
And not only that, but also just your advertising and commercial background. In the days of film, before digital, you had to build sets inside of your studio.
I would build a kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, you had to build scenes.
You'd build your own scene. Now that it's digital, you just have to make a little quick correction and do it all on location.
And not to make this all about our family, but on one side, his grandfather was an electrician who brought electricity to certain parts of Texas, but taught him how to wire things. And then my grandfather, he was a builder, and so he taught my dad how to be able to do some of these different things in construction. And these are skills that we still implement today. One of the things that we end up doing with these scenes is he first sketches out his mind. Then the other thing I think is the distinction is you do all the lighting in your mind.
I do. I light every scene before anybody is ever put in there, and I think about how the painter, the old master, would have had light coming in at that time of day. And then I use mannequins, and I literally light them before the people ever show up.
Because, you know, there's differences in not only quality of light, but also quantity of light. And oftentimes what distincts or makes our photography distinctive is the quality of light that we use and the way that he goes about doing it. So when we're doing a Caravaggio type piece, it's being lit maybe with a Fresnel lens or something that creates that more cinematic type feel. If it's a Vermeer type piece, it may be a different, maybe a giant silk or something, because you're just doing a broader light source instead of doing these little pools and pockets of light.
Caravaggio would take the light that came in through the window, and then he would take a mirror and kick it back on the people, and it started almost a cinematic look to lighting, which they use even in movies today.
But of course the beauty of the mirror is that no matter what time of day it was, you could always have the same lighting.
So it could be like the sun only has a little bit there, but you can kick that mirror and then kick it back on the person that you're painting.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, and you've heard this before, but this idea of studying the masters, but you really today can learn so much by just pouring through all of that.
They tell photographers, if you really want to grow in photography, do not look at other photographers, study the masters.
Yes. And I think people hear that and it just kind of, but there really is so much to, but it's not, like you dig into those stories.
Oh my goodness.
And the experiences they were working with, and you start really recognizing all the tools they had and all the tools they did not have. Yes. And it's stunning. It really is.
Not only that, but what you're really trying to do, I believe, when you're studying, it's not just learning how to imitate something. It's learning, it's deconstructing the why, right? Why did they choose this symbolism? Why were oranges present in this picture? Why were these tonal things used, that kind of stuff. And then that gets you thinking outside of it. It's learning problem solving.
Yeah.
And that's all we do is anything in life, especially as photographers. Photographers, it's visual problem solving.
Yes.
But whether you're a doctor, lawyer, attorney, whatever type thing, you're still solving problems.
So you recently won the Lifetime Achievement Award.
I did.
At WPI, lots of tears and clapping.
It was. My son lied to me.
I know, but for a good
I
cause.
had no idea.
There is no good cause for lying.
This was though.
This was more
sweet.
error and omission. I didn't verbalize what we were there for.
I like how you justify it. Yeah. So you were totally surprised, but seriously, it was incredibly well justified because there are so many people who would be envious of the long. I mean, how long have you been shooting?
I started professionally in 1974.
Wonderful. And did you have any fears about being able to make it as a photographer?
Oh, they should have fired me the first week. Yeah. Absolutely. But what they did that was smart is that they knew of a photographer who was actually one of the top photographers from Brooks Institute, and they made me, he mentored me.
Okay.
And that was one of the best gifts that I could ever have, because this guy never should have spent an ounce of time with me, but he did. And he poured into my life, and he taught me how to solve problems, which is what we're talking about. And I go, I don't know how to do this shot. He goes, I can think of 8 ways right now how to solve this problem. But he would never let me leave without going away with the answer, but he made me solve it. He just didn't give me the answer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. Last question. What, as a father and son duo, what are the best parts and what are the most challenging parts of working together and running a business?
Well, I'll start, and I'll just say the best part is that we get to do this thing called life together, make memories together. I think my dad has said it during his lifetime speech and so forth, but we're firm believers that our cameras are simply the excuse to love on others and have influence in their lives. The photography to us is secondary. The people are what's most important. Relationships are most important. And I think the memories that we make, that our camera just is a mechanism and a tool that allows us to have these things. But that's what's most special.
A lot of people ask us how I could never do this with my dad. I could never do this.
Right.
And it's a choice.
Yeah.
It really is a choice. And of course, I tell all my children they're my best friend, but Luke is my best friend. And I just love that. So, and best friends to me are special.
And I'd say the other thing is that we have a strong belief that we're iron that sharpens each other's iron. We each have value. We're each secure in who we are. Our job is to figure out how to make the other person better or to bring value to it. The other thing is grace. Yeah. It's an infinite amount of grace. The grace of a father that has to wait for a son to mature and catch up with them. I mean, how am I supposed to jump into a world where somebody has a 30-year head start in terms of photography? At the same time, I give him grace as he's gone through different things within his life because, there's been adversity. We have faced adversity, not only as individuals, but as a family. And it's that grace that we've been able to extend each other, and then the love that really allows us to get through those things, to say there's something of greater value than anything about myself.
And do you think this extraordinarily obvious affection between you two that you are known for, the way you care for each other, has had an influence on your work as well?
Absolutely. And other people, because we'll have people come up to us and we just put our cameras down because they know that they need to be loved, that they're hurting right now. And they just need to be with somebody. We had somebody who called their wedding off, and he came on a Friday night and just said, I am hurting so bad. But I can tell that when we talked before that you love people and I need to be loved.
I hope people appreciate our photography or admire it, but that's just really not important to us. What's more important is just that we're able to love on them.
And having a stroke and losing my voice made it so powerful to me to realize how important it is for every one of us to have a voice in this world. And because, like Luke said, even if it's a scratchy voice. So now I even sing all the time. I was too embarrassed to sing before. Would you like for me to sing you a song?
Absolutely.
Would you at least say this about what it is that each of us is doing with our voice? Especially if you even thought about the luthier shot?
Absolutely. I did a photo, and it was of a luthier family, and whether you were constructing your voice, having to repair your voice, me, having to fine-tune it, because we all need to fine-tune who we are and our voice in the world, or inspect it. those are the things that we need to do. And these are the stories I want to tell my children and grandchildren. So when I shoot a photo, this is the only reason I do it. It's for them or my grandchildren.
That's right.
That's amazing. And I actually mean the word amazing. Where can people find out more about you?
Police records?
Police.
We always wanted to live in a gated community. No, you can go to edmonsonweddings.com, and Edmondson is very simply spelled. There's no second D, just EDMONSON weddings.com. That's one of the ways to find out about us. Or you can just Google us, David or Luke Edmonson. We're there.
I love it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luke and David. Check us out here next time on Adorama TV, and don't forget to subscribe to Adorama TV for a treasure trove of amazing educational content.